Hi guys, welcome to Becoming by Nqobileh. I am absolutely excited to be shooting the second episode after I received such positive feedback from the first episode. Like, oh my goodness. Like, oh, I don't even know where to start. I am so grateful. I'm so appreciative. You guys really just received my first episode so well. And I honestly couldn't thank you enough for that. So that's why I decided to bring a special guest here today.
What's up?
Welcome to my podcast / YouTube channel / Becoming by Nqobileh.
Thank you.
It's an absolute pleasure to have you join us today.
Nqobileh. It's nice to be here.
Nice to be here.
Yeah.
So so today we're going to be discussing a very interesting topic.
But fun
topic. And so I'm not aware of what my husband's going to ask me. And so we've prepared separately for today's episode because we wanted it to be as organic
as possible.
And as, as natural as possible. So I'm super excited, but slightly nervous because he has this habit of always wanting to pick my brain on stuff. But I'm super excited, and I really hope that you guys enjoy today's episode. Before we start, hope everyone is good. Hope you guys enjoyed Valentine's Day. I hope you guys were able to express and experience and celebrate love with your loved ones. And I hope you guys are safe and healthy and taking very good care of yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to introduce today's topic?
All right. Without further ado, for today's topic on Radio Nqobileh 90214785.
Wow.
All right. So we watched obviously something that was very interesting and that I think is on everybody's sort of radar right now. Everybody's talking about it. If it wouldn't be South Africa if people were not making memes.
True.
And people are not making just funny things about it. But I also thought there's a more sort of serious aspect to it. I wanted to pick your brain, hence why I'm here. Just a bit more about the show and how can we also break it down to things that are not as fancy as private jets, but almost everyday life that people are going through because people are dating and people are looking to find people.
Yeah.
But I thought it would be a fun one just to dive into and chat about. So today we are going to be talking about the one, the only, Tinder Swindler. So you see, I don't know these things. I've never had to go into Tinder for If you have to, it's cool, but it was just much simpler.
So today we're going to be speaking about Tinder Swindler. I'm going to share what I feel are some of the underlying psychological reasons or diagnoses or aspects, that sort of shape Simon, who's the main character of Tinder Swindler. And we're just going to be discussing other areas and how, something as large scale as that could also apply in just everyday normal lives. I mean, if we're dating and get to know people, what are some of the things that we can look for, or what are some of the red flags, just stuff like that.
Yeah, so to quickly get into it, so we can, but also it's going to be a conversation. So
it's going to be a conversation.
Yeah, it might not be one of the short podcasts.
Yeah. So.
All right. So main character, Simon. Right?
Okay, let's give a background, sort of just a small, summary, just for somebody who hasn't watched it yet, or for somebody who has watched it and semi forgot what happened. Just a overall.
Okay, so Simon is this young guy, handsome guy from Israel. They don't give us much of a backdrop as to how he grew up, but as far as we know, he grew up with his mom. I guess in Israel, it's not even a suburb. It's almost like the projects. If you look at America, for the lack of a better word, projects. In South Africa, I guess ilokishi lakhona. in Israel. So I think as he grows up into his teen years, he starts developing sort of like ways to start doing crime that side. So whether he works for fraud and crime, in a sense that he works for a boss, gets a hold of the check, starts using the check for his own things, goes on to the next boss, works again, does the same thing, gets the credit card, starts using the credit card for his benefit. And I guess back home in Israel, I think there's 4 cases where he did that. So I guess for him that was a success. In my own way, now that I'm saying it, he decides to do what? To move to America. Now, they only reveal this also down the line, so I do suggest you watch it. I don't want to spoil it. So, but when he moves to America, he almost does the same thing. But what I find interesting is that it changes now. This guy, he's almost like like at one instance, he's a babysitter. Yeah. From being a babysitter, I don't know how he manages to swindle money from the couple, gone. In another instance, he's studying to be a pilot. He even has pictures of him, studying to be a pilot. A family takes him in so he can finish his studies. Same thing happens, So I think that's sort of, again, moving from Israel to where he is now in America, it starts graduating. Until now, we get to the Tinder Swindler part, where this whole thing is full blown. I mean, this guy is moving with Rolls Royce, private jets, staying in 7-star hotels, eating the finest food, wearing the finest clothes, Dior, Versace, or Gucci's.
He's living the life, basically.
He's living the life. But then now he's on Tinder, and him being on Tinder, he starts getting to know women, while for the supposed purpose of dating. So that's a part of the backdrop.
That's a whole ball game on its own.
That's a whole ball game on its own.
But basically, he uses Tinder as a way to lure and attract women into this ideal, lavish lifestyle. And as soon as they sort of like fall into his trap, without not being able to find a better word, then he sort of uses them to get like lines of credit and like massive loans and all of these, puts them in a very compromised financial position for his own personal gain, and he makes them open up all of these lines of credit and loans through their names. So he's clean in this whole thing. But he's basically just a fraudster who lures women using dating apps, particularly Tinder in this case, into this attractive lifestyle, and then uses their money, uses them to get loans and to take out credits.
All right,
so
with that being said, I think the first thing that hits everybody when watching the Tinder Swindler is that, come on, guys. I would never do that. I get the first loan, I get the second loan, but come on, who would now take out so much of money, just to fund or to help this guy out over the conversations that he has with you on a cell phone? So I think that's the first thing that everybody struggles with. And I remember as soon as we watched it, we decided to take a step back, and I asked you, and I was like, is this guy that good? I firstly don't want to get into the lavish life that he shows them. Psychologically, is he that good? And from your point of view, just me picking your brain, what makes him so good? Because this guy has a high success rate.
I get you. High success rate.
Yeah, this guy is it's almost like sales. With people that started in sales, when you first start off without that much confidence and experience, out of 10 calls, you're maybe going to close 1 sale. Then people get better as time goes. Out of 10 calls, they're closing 5 sales. So I'm trying to say in that sense that this guy, it's almost like he's become such a professional at what he does. That it's almost
getting
like
harder and harder
and harder and harder. So before we get to him showing them the lavish lifestyle, is he that good psychologically, and what do you think forms that basis?
So before you even get there, we need to break down Simon's character. Okay. So you mentioned that he's a person who was born in Israel, in not the best of socio-cultural environments. there's a scene in the show where they show his mom and where his mom stays, and so you know that he didn't grow up with the best that life could afford at that time. You know that, you know, he comes from a low socioeconomic status family.
Yeah.
So one thing I love about, or one thing I admire about Simon is that regardless of where he comes from or regardless of his life's journey, he seems to have always been a person who's always wanted more in life. He seems to have always been a person who's always wanted to live the good life.
The good life, yeah. Soft life.
Yes, but instantly, but quickly. So he it almost seems like, you know, his upbringing or his background, or his family background, gave him that desire that, hey, like one day I want to get out of here, one day I want to do better, one day I want to be better.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's why when you look at the smaller fraudulent things that he used to do, the $5,000, or like, you know, like the little hustling a place to stay for free, you know, hustling a babysitting job and with no babysitting experience, or, you know, like just getting by, like, so like he sort of like grows up tasting like in bits and pieces of, okay, what is it that I can do? And the more he tastes it, the more he develops his appetite for it. So he starts out with those basic, just smolanyana jobs, like smolanyana fraudulent things here and there. And the more he sees that that's possible and the more he's able to get away with it, the bigger his appetite for it grows. And then it feeds certain aspects of his personality as well, because when I was watching that series, two very strong traits of two personality clusters came up for me. Okay. A narcissistic person and a histrionic person. So
what is this? What is a narcissistic person and what is a histrionic person?
So a histrionic person is those people that love like the lavish lifestyle, that like to be the center of attention, like, you know, like so it's actually part of a personality cluster. Like,
how many people in South Africa?
Wait, no.
I know. I just wanted to poke at all these people, you know, that are like.
So we see very strong traits of that, of wanting to be the center of attention, you know, in the way that he dresses, in how extravagant his life, in how he portrays such an extravagant lifestyle to these girls. And then we see very strong traits of narcissism as well, the grandiose, the lack of empathy, the you know, the whole thing of self-serving and, you know, wanting to elevate himself and his feeling of the self, and not necessarily caring what happens to these girls. Like, there's no empathy whatsoever in terms of what happens to these women when they take out all of these loans.
So in other words, it's almost like I need to do what I need to do to get to the top. Whoever I step on and how it hurts you and how you feel about
That's your business.
That's your business.
Yes. And I need to look good. So I need you to affirm me. I need you to make me feel good about myself. I need you to make me feel like I'm the best thing that's ever happened to you. You know, like we see him buy these girls these gifts and then tell them that, you know, I'm going to move in with you. And they're like, oh, Simon, take me now.
So not to cut you, but since we're speaking about this character and how he is, in terms of not having empathy and wanting to get to where he wants to get to, the way he wants to do it. The other part of it is that, is there a possibility that people that are narcissistic do have a sense of, I don't want to say empathy, but for the lack of a better word, I'll say empathy, because you do see, in their luring in, they do, feed the other person's emotions. They do want them to feel good. They do want them to get the gifts. He'll send, I miss you, I love you, I. Sort of like, yes, for him it's his benefit as a draw card, but it's almost like he knows what the next person is supposed to be feeling, but it gets to a point where it deviates. So are sort of like narcissistic people also smart enough to know, or are they completely empathetic and, you know?
Okay, so like everything has its level. So obviously
Okay.
you'd have a high functioning narcissistic person and like, you know, someone that's on the other end of the spectrum.
So what
who's
does
just
that mean?
purely,
What does high function mean?
So you get, okay, so before we even like get far, remember that it's a personality disorder. So meaning that there's some level of distortion in how they view things. So in how,
Okay.
so how you view social cues and how you view empathy and relationships won't be the same as a person who meets the full criteria of a narcissistic personality disorder, of a person who has traits of it as well. It is a distortion at the end of the day.
Okay.
There is some level of they won't function as a normal person would in society. So in cases where you find somebody that's high functioning or not, somebody with traits of it and someone who meets the full criteria of it, their behavior and their thought process won't be the same.
So
for a
there's almost like
person,
levels.
yes. So for a person who might have traits of it, might still have a level of, you know, social awareness, but because of this distorted view of the self and of the world, even though they have a level of social awareness, they'll always sort of use that to still feed their personality disorder, to still feed.
So it's almost like an extra tool to help them
help them feel grandiose, to help them feel good and like they're great, and you know, like nobody's greater than me, and you know, I always make an example that personality disorders play out. So I think I made an example about this in one of our previous videos as well, that, you know, you might find somebody with a narcissistic personality pairing with a dependent personality disorder, because the one needs you to make them feel good, you know, and the other one sort of like depends on you giving them affirmation and you telling them, you know, what to do and how to feel. So if you know, so like it sort of like plays out in that particular way. So I always say that the human mind is the most interesting thing ever, because somewhere along the line, these personality disorders are always able to attract
each other and find each other.
They're always able to find each other.
Okay, so we were explaining him. So he had what did you say? What? No. What's the first one, homie? Histrionic. You see, it's all my words. I'm learning. And a narcissistic.
That's your favorite word to speak about. I feel like
no, I don't know it. I just learned about it now.
Yeah.
So that's what forms him. So
traits of.
Traits of.
Yeah.
Now, going back to the question, like seeing his personality types and his personality disorders, what makes him so good to actually be able to keep this act? It's almost like he's a professional actor.
I get you. He gets away with it. Each time he gets better. It's like when we look at, I don't know if you're aware of this, but if we look at cases of people like Bundley, you know, like all of these, what do you call them? Sociopaths, you know, like, I'm so sorry to make this example, it might seem insensitive, but, you know, like cases of people who would probably abduct a girl once, and then they do it again, you know, so their first abduction will be messy, you know, like they'll be trying it out, they'll be like trying to feel it, and you know, for some weird reason they'd get away with it, and maybe the police wouldn't get them. They're like, oh, I was able to do it the first time, let me do it the second time, and at least now I know what to look out for that I didn't look out for in the first time. So they keep on getting better and better and better at it, that it ends up becoming second nature. It's like with you,
I get you.
Wait, if you get a new job, your first day
is not going to
be the same as your 21st day. Your
True.
21st day there is not going to be the same as your 90th day there. You know, there's going to be things where they're going to become second nature to you. So they become so good at it. And remember, not only are they becoming good at it materialistically, but they're becoming good at it in the sense that it's making them feel a particular way about themselves.
So it's feeding.
And people want things that make them feel good.
Okay, so these are wins for him. Every time this happens,
yes,
it reaffirms him that, you know what,
and it's
you're
going to get
better
better,
at this,
and it's going to get better the second time around. But the next victim he's going to get better.
Okay, it comes to my other part of the question, which is a double-edged question in the sense that one, I'm still going back to remember that most of us are like, you know what, this would never happen to me. Only to find that maybe it actually happened to most of us in a much smaller scale.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going back to, you see his Instagram profile. These cars are not fake. They are there.
They're there. They're
on top
real.
of that,
the trips are real.
That's what I'm trying to say. On top of that, he does give you a plane ticket, and you do get into a private jet. So it's not like
caviar.
You eat the caviar, you eat the sushi with the salmon that is fish from the most exotic place. So it's not a dream.
It's not a lie.
It's not a lie. You do get into it. You do sleep in a 7-star. You do get to buy what you want at the time. Who's to say that you'll be suspicious if you're feeling that? I mean, hey, I want to buy Dubai, guys. You know,
there's this thing called Optimism Bias. You know.
Okay.
And I like that question because I remember we had a conversation about it. At first we were like, nah. But then I was like, but hold up though.
Yeah, I know.
But hold up though.
The natural side of us
there's always a, and I'm sure that a lot of people will identify with this when they watch the show. There is a cognitive process in us viewers that are like, but I would have seen there, or I wouldn't have felt.
But also we're looking at it from the
one.
outside.
But we're looking at it from the outside, number one. And number two, how many of you guys have fallen for pyramid schemes? How many of you guys have fallen for cults? How many of you guys have fallen for random... for some fraudulent activity somewhere where some guy quickly approaches you like, hey, Cece, just do this, or hey, Putin, just do this.
True.
And,
That's true.
So there's always that level of cognitive bias that we always go through as people.
That's
We're just
smaller
I
scale.
would never.
It's just that we're just judging it now.
But it's the exact same thing. It's the exact same thing because the trips were real. So he does not give you any reason to doubt his ability to live this lifestyle. And Simon uses one very, very strong tool, which is love.
Yo, that is
which
so
is love.
I've never looked at it that
yes,
way.
I think no matter who you are or what you've been through in life, there is that natural human instinct to want to find a compatible person.
That is so true.
Whether you guys are doing bad things together or whether you guys are doing good things together, but everybody wants somebody, whether we admit to it or not. So Simon uses that part of the human's natural desire, and he exploits that. So whenever you're in love, you drop your guards for most things.
And I think
so it's easy for me to say that I wouldn't go through it, but I'm not in love with Simon. He hasn't made me fall in love with him. I mean, I'm sure that if we look at our relationship histories or whatever the case is, each one of us can identify a stage or a thing, whether large scale or small scale in our lives, where you're like, I was whipped there. Like, I can't, I never thought that I'd ever do that for a person, but I actually did it for a person. So it's just a larger scale.
And I think what's hectic about Simon is that he's patient.
Very patient.
Just going back to the love thing, that besides him being able to fly you out, gives you the good life, he's patient in the sense that while he's working on the other girl, with this other girl, he'll text.
Yes.
And I remember the stuff that he was saying, that's what I'm saying, that is he actually that good psychologically, because he's present. He knows dates. I remember one of the girls was like, he remembers dates.
Everything.
He remembers everything. He'll text in the morning, he'll text in the evening. He'll build a relationship, he'll build a rapport, all leaning towards the whole love element.
Yeah.
Now, the second part of the question of the whole, the big lavish lifestyle is that, do you think that he actually, out of the 50 right swipes he gets, do you think he is inclined enough to be able to know, Wuti, this is the type of person, this is the type of person I'm looking for? How does he figure that out, or how does he feel that this is the type of person I'm looking for?
Remember, I get you, sorry. Remember that I said that he gets good at this each time. Ne? So, and there's a thing that Simon does to those girls, and I don't know if a lot of people realized, but he lures you in and then he tests your boundaries and then he tests how far he can push you.
Yeah.
And most of those girls, because of the love and because of the fact that he's present and he pays attention to me and he gets me all of these things, they're pushable. So for instance, there's one of the girls where he makes her fall hopelessly in love with him, and then he's like, oh, I have a girlfriend. And I think there's a photo where it's the three of them, him, the girlfriend, and the girl.
So that was a way of him to test the boundaries.
To test, like how far can I push you?
Can I push?
Yes.
So if you can be in this situation,
then it's a winner. You know,
okay.
like the other one, on their first date, he's there with his baby mama and the
I
child.
missed all of those signs.
You know?
So that's also a test
yes.
to see which...
If you can tolerate this, then
But my thing is, I'm still getting to how, I know that it gets better, but how is he able to figure this out? Like, it's almost like there's a sense of genius psychologically in him, as messed up as it sounds.
Yeah.
But you just pointed out 2 times where one, there was a baby mama. I saw that part, but I'm like, that doesn't make sense. Why would you? Then I also asked myself, when as the girl, why would you get it? Why would you stay and go?
Yeah.
But I didn't look at it in a sense that for him, this was a meter, which makes it even more ingenious of him to be able to say, okay, this is the jet. The meter is I'm going to have the baby mama and the mama. And if you say I'm not getting in here, that means you're already automatically out. But if you say you're going in, sure.
Then
same thing with the girlfriend
keep
story.
on pushing it,
So is there a sense of, with these personality traits and personality types that he has, is there a sense of genius in them?
That's such a hard question.
I don't know how to ask it.
That's such a hard question. It's a very hard question, especially because psychologically there's a whole series of assessments that I have to go through in order to answer the question.
Just so we say this is this is not professional advice. As much as she's a professional, we're just discussing.
But I think there is a level of mastering the social, mastering some cognitive processes of the human mind as he develops in this, and as he like I said, like he keeps on getting better, so he keeps on learning more, he keeps on finding out different things about the human psyche. So I maybe
do you think it's conscious or it happens subconsciously? Because if I look at it, it's very methodical.
I think a balance of both. I think a balance of that you have to consciously test the boundaries of these people for you to see if they can, be the people that you want them to be. But there's also a level of I've done this so much that I know that this is the type of girl who's going to be attracted to the lavish lifestyle that I have to portray. But this guy knows
just by a swipe. It's almost like he just reads through your profile, looks at what you do, where you're from.
But he gets to know them. But remember that it's not just swipe, meets, dates, lavish.
I get you.
It's swipe, talk, get to know them, get to figure out what type of people they are. And remember, like I said, that it's so weird how the human mind works, because different personality types attract each other, whether they cause dysfunction or whether they cause function, and they cause the person to become better.
Yes, it's weird enough.
It's like a weird sort of magnet. It's like how I know a lot of people always ask the question that why is it that if you come from a history of physical abuse that you always, because you know what it's like, you know that it's wrong, you know that I grew up with my dad hitting my mom or my mom hitting my dad, so why is it that when you grow up you portray a similar type of behavior even though you know how wrong it is, because there's something that these things do to us subconsciously and unconsciously that desensitize us to these things. And you grow up knowing that it's wrong, but it's what you know. Or the other example
that you told me, that if you've unfortunately maybe been in a physical relationship, the chances of you actually getting into one again actually multiply than a person who's not.
Who hasn't,
And it's so weird because nobody walks around saying that
this is the label.
But it's almost, it's a topic for another day, but it's such a huge thing.
It's a very interesting thing. That's why I always say that for me, the human mind is probably the most, I don't know, I feel like we haven't studied that enough, because not only that, but also energies speak as well.
Yeah, true.
It's so weird how you'd meet someone and you'd just be like, yo, I feel good after being with this person, or yo, you know, like there's something about this person that made me feel good, or that made me, you know, want to draw closer to him, or, you know, something like that. So it's like we're walking around as energy magnets, just waiting for something to pair it.
I think, yeah, that's
and depending
on
our level of awareness into ourselves, which is why therapy is so important, you can either see something that will cause dysfunction from you and immediately know that, okay, this is something that I need to repel, or you can cling to it. That's why it's so important to go for therapy. Go for therapy, guys.
Yeah,
go for
so
therapy.
hectic. All right, so just to move on, I feel like there's so many sides to this. I literally do a part two to this.